This meeting is being recorded.
Good evening, ladies.
Good evening. How are you?
Baruch Hashem. Okay. Okay, so we're continuing our discussion in the Bet Yosef regarding the issue of the Kedusha of Yotzer Or. So it goes on to say, Adoni Ariel Arsal, so this is my father Rosh Katav. He wrote about this Shiachid Yachol Leomra, that the individual can say it. Sheno ba atal kadesh, because it's not really here coming to sanctify, but just coming over to tell the story about the angels as it's written in the Bible, as it's written in the prophets. That's what it says also over there in Megillah Omed, Sof Siman Zain, Perek Meshemeto, and also there, Sof Siman Yudchet, the Talmidei Rabbeinu Yonah, the Talmidim of Rabbi Yonah, they said, Katvu Perek Meshemeto, they wrote in this Perek, L'nyan Kedushat Shel Birkat Yotzer, regarding this Kedusha Birkat Yotzer, and also Kedusha of Valetzion, Im Tzarich Lasara, do you need 10 people there? Im Lav, right? Yes or no? Nechraku bo Mefarshim. So he says, the commentaries argued about this. Yesh omrim de bichlal davar shebekdusha. Some say this is like a regular kedusha, which requires 10 people. Ve'en omrim oto bepachot me'asara. So therefore, we cannot say with less than 10. Aval Rabbanei Tzarfat, when he says the rabbis of France, umiktzat geonim, also the geonim, some of the geonim, he says omrim. They say shemutar hayachid leomro, individual can say it. The la have bichlal davar b'kedusha. It's not really considered to be a kedusha, as we mentioned already.
Amen.
Okay, so then he says, "Ela naktishach shenachnu makdishin oto b'kiyotze b'zeh." He says only that is like naktishach, which is in the Amidah. That's called really kedusha, and things like this. So there they said you can't do less than 10 people. But he says the kedusha of yotzer she'enanu makdishin oto, which we don't really. It's not really kedusha. Ela mazkirin. We're just mentioning it. Kedusha she'omrim lo mishartav. We're just mentioning the kedusha that the angels say, the servants of God. Mutar b'yachid, then it's allowed for an individual. The eno ela kemo sipur, just you're telling over the story. The chen gam ken uvaletzion, also uvaletzion, he says, kivan she'eno ela pesukim bi'alma, since it's just verses, he says, she'anu omrim otam, that we say en bechak klum, there's nothing, no big deal. So he says, v'lezeh noteh dat mori harav. So he says, my rabbi also agrees with this, inclines towards that. Katav Rabbeinu Agadol Mari Abuhab, says this rabbi, Zal, Alma Shekatav Rabbeinu, that which Rabbeinu taught the Tur, the Ita Masechet Sofrim, that it's written in Masechet Sofrim, Sheachid Omer Ota, that the individual should say it, no problem. Hine Chiser Bekan Atanai. But he said, you know what? He didn't write that there's a condition about that. Sheomer Sham, that he says there, Vidbad Sheyed Ben Yud Gimel Shana, he has to be 13 years old at least. Okay. Ve'orchot Chaim, ve'akol bo katvu. But these rabbis wrote, had a Masechet Sofrim, the Vidbad Sheyed Ben Yud Gimel Shana, that which it says you have to be 13 years old. Ve'zeh Lashon Masechet Sofrim, he says this is where it says there, Perek Tet Zayin, in the 16th chapter. Katan she'eno pores et Shema. Katan, who doesn't recite the Shema in public for the community, eno yachol lomar kiddush b'yotzer. He cannot say also kiddush in yotzer b'yachid by himself. Aval b'tzibur onei imahem. But with the community, he answers with them. V'gadol pores et Shema yachol lomar. But he says if it's a big guy, if he's an adult, he's able to say, the fishahu kesoder. He's just, telling it over, as we said. Aval kadosh shel amida, kiddush shel amida. When it comes to the kiddush of amida, kivan shetzarich lomar. Since we need to say, na'aritzach v'nachtishach, right? This language. Eno min adin de'omro pachot me'asra. So therefore, you cannot say without 10. Ve'en katan ole min aminyan. So he says also the katan does not count in the minyan. Ad kanashano, that's the end of the language there. Minaga olam. So says Maran that the custom of the people, right, in general, Rabbeinu Yonah Rabbi Arosh, like Rabbeinu Yonah the Rosh, Zal. So what does that mean? That we do say it, right, when we're doing it individuals. That's what I always did. That's what I always did, by the way. I did like this, I did say it. But I know there's another opinion there. So let's see. Let's go on a little bit. Ve'afilu pachot miben yud gimel. Even if it's somebody less than 13 years old, omerot, I can say it. Ava beseper al-zohar. But in the Zohar katuv, it's written there, Shena yachid omer kedushat yotzer. You shouldn't say it. The Zohar says. Ve'afilu kedushat uval tzion. And even uval tzion, shebelashon HaKodesh, which is in the Hebrew, Ena yachid omer, the individual doesn't say, Ota, v'zeh leshono, Parshat Truma. This is what it says in the Zohar, Parshat Truma, right? Kuf lamed bet amud bet. It says over there, Kedusha da, the common Kadesh Malachi Ilaeh. So he says this Kedusha, that the angels, right, the holy angels, whatever, right? Lav ihu biyachid. You can't do it with individuals. So he says the rule is any kedusha which is in Hebrew, the holy tongue, yachid asur the individual cannot say that. The memar la targuma, to say it in Aramaic, leolam biyachid. Lo basagi'in. But he says if you want to say it, as we said, right, in Aramaic, so then you can do with individuals. In other words, if it's a kedusha which is Aramaic, so there the individual can say it, and we don't really say it out in public. But simanech leraza da shenai mikra ve'echad targum. So he says your reminder for this secret, right? So what does that mean, secret? That this is according to Kabbalah. Right, so it says Shtai Mikra Targum, right? Mikra Echad Targum Shtaim. Lishna the Sagiin Yehu. So he says it's a language of plural, many. Tevadai Kedushat Belashon HaKodesh Asur. So he says for sure the Kedusha in the holy tongue is Asur. Iu beyachid Kedushat Targum. Iu beyachid Kedushat Targum. But when it comes to Targum, Aramaic, something in Aramaic, Asur iu besagin. You cannot do it with a minyan. Ela biyachid, only with individuals. Leolam echad targum v'tininan. So it says we learned over there velot tren velot yotir, not two or more. Targum ata lemaute. So targum comes to exclude. That's what we needed to say, the Holy Tongue. That's coming to include the that we should go up in holiness and not go down. But Targum Moridim, so it says when it comes to Targum, you're going down. Why? Because it's not really Holy Tongue. When it comes to Aramaic, right? So it's not Holy Tongue. And we don't taninan velo yatir velo ma'alin kalal ad kan shanon. So basically, right, the Zohar is saying just the opposite of what we said is the custom. So, right, okay, so then what's the bottom line, right? What do we do? Mikan tavin shatam shanu omrim kedushat targum. So he says, from here you understand that the reason why we say the kedusha in Aramaic, when it comes to Ubar Etzion, belachash, why do we say quietly? What's the reason why? Because something which is in Aramaic, you shouldn't say it with the community together. Oh, so it should be each individual says it. So he says, therefore, Omer ota kol yachid b'fnei atzmo. So each individual should say it by himself. Or be'achid, right? So it says, even though the custom is in the world to say the kedusha of Yotzer with individuals, so he says, since it seems to me, he says that since this inyan, this issue is not really defined in the Talmud, so we should go like the Zohar says, Lamed Aleph, like I wrote in Lamed Aleph, Bedin Hanachat Tefillin, when it comes to putting Tefillin, B'chol HaMoed and Chol HaMoed. Okay. V'chen dat Rashba, says also the Rashba says like this, Katav Sheshalu, he wrote today, asked him, Al Mash Katav Rambam Bechibur. That which Rambam wrote in his book, She'achid Medaleg Kedusha, that the individual should skip this, right? Mevarachet Yotzer B'tshuva, Medaleg Kedusha, Mebirkat Yotzer, from the blessing of Yotzer, but in Tshuva, Katav She'achid Omerota, but in Tshuva he wrote that you should say it, right? So there's a contradiction in the Rambam there. So the question is, right, which one do we rely on? On the book, all right, or on the Tshuva? This is the question. So he says, simply speaking, right, it's better to go like the book. So he says, because in general people say, there's a rule, general rule, that anything which is kedusha should be with 10 people. When you're early, so it says, seems to me, so it says that these two rabbis in the Talmud also argued about this. Regarding somebody, regarding somebody who comes into the synagogue, he found that the community is praying there, and we say, right? What are they arguing about here? More savar yachid omer kedusha. One says, right, that the individual can say kedusha. Hilkach says, therefore, afilu kedusha shebiyotzer, even kedusha and yotzer, ena yachid omer, the individual shouldn't say it. But it says, however, in Masechet Sofrim, amru kedivya tshuvat Arav, but in the Sofrim he said like the Rambam in the Tshuva. So in other words, in the Talmud also there seems to be a contradiction about this. But we don't rely on that. But we only rely on our Gemara. So as I heard in the name of the big rabbis, that kedusha in Yotzer, since it mentions the the sanctification, שמלאכי השרת אומרים, that the angels say, אם בא לאומרה כקורא במקרא, he's coming to say it like he's reading in the, right, if he's, like he's reading in the Bible, b'neima, with nice melody, omer, he can do it like that. ואנחנו אין אומרים אותה כלל, but it says, we don't say it at all, וכל דבר שכיוצא בו, הנכון שבהן לנהוג בו במניעת תשב ואל תעשה. So it says in general, like these kinds of things, better to refrain, in other words, if it's a choice of saying it or not, better not to say. Okay, let's go on. So it says, Adif, Ad kan, with tshuva acheret, but in different tshuva it says, Rashba, Katav al Yud Gimel Midot, regarding 13 attributes of God. But also we say that, this Friday we do say that when we pray every day. Im ba leomran v'derech kriya be'alma, if you're just saying it right as a reader, right? In other words, Amen, you can, like he's reading the Torah. That's what we do, by the way, when we pray by ourselves. If we want to say Yud Gimel Midot, the 13 principal the attributes, what we do is we say it with the melody of the Torah, right? Which Ashkenazim call it the trup. Say with the trup, the ta'amim, right? So if he's coming to say it, just reading, Omran kederech sheomrin, you can say it like people say, af alfanim, like the angels who cry kedusha derech kriya. You can say them just like he's a reader. Ad kan shano. Katuv be'agot ma'imoniot. It says over there, פרק ז' מלכות תפילה, וזה לשונו, ויש שאנו רוצה, שאינו רוצה לאומרה, some say don't want to say this, right? ולא לדלגה, and also not to skip it, ואומר קדוש וברוך, לאל ברוך, פרק כמה דברכות, so he says, it's in the first פרק of ברכות, this thing, תניא, אמר רבי יוסף, פעם אחד, it says over there that, it says רבי יוסף, one time הייתי מהלך בדרך, I was going in the road, ונכנסתי לחורבה, and I went into the ruins, right? So he taught him there, Eliyahu, some halachot. So he told him like this, that the time they're going into the synagogue, and in the study halls, amen, they answer, amen, he waves his head to God. There are those who read this braita when they're not playing with the minyan, because there is Kaddish there, and also there's a Mishnah in the Brachot, Mem Amud Aleph, sheyesh ba barechu uvraita. There's also a barechu in the Braita, Darish Pek Gidan Hashem. There's a Braita there that darshans this in Gidan Hashem, which is in the Gemara Chulin, Tzadik Aleph Amud Bet, sheyesh ba kedusha, there's kedusha there. Tanya Chavivin Israel, Ve'esh Korin Parshat. So therefore, there are some who read these things. Mishnat Mut HaMelech Uziyahu and all this Parsha Ad Kan Hashanah. The Sefer Pardes, which come from Rashi, Katav B'Shem HaGaon. He said the name of one Gaon. She'achid Eno Omer Kedusha the Sidra. That an individual should not say the Kedusha of the Sidra, which is the Ovalatzion, if I'm not mistaken. Ela Im Ken Talmid Chacham Hu. Unless he's Talmid Chacham, Ya'asok b'shmot kegon shalosh kitot shel malachi hasharet. Like you should read it as like just a lesson from the Torah, like Masechet Chulin. We just mentioned that there's angels that say these things. Omrim shira b'chol yom sheyesh ba shevach ve'im eno talmid chacham. He says if he's not a talmid chacham, Ya'asok b'mikra. You should read the Bible sheyesh ba kedushat the sidra, which has also the kedusha of this. Of what it's young kegon serafim omdim v'yesh chachamim, like this pasuk in Yeshayahu, v'yesh chachamim sheomrim, there are the rabbis who say kivan shehen mikraot, since they're just verses from the Bible, omran, you can really say them, no problem. Hilkach says nagu yachid haomer, it says so therefore the custom is that yachid haomer kedusha the sidra korei psukim beta'aman. So what he does is, if an individual is saying these verses, he should read them with the ta'amim, right, the melody, כדרך שהתינוקות קוראים, just like the children do it, לפי רבן, לפני רבן, in front of the rabbis, unconditional. ורבנו כתב דברים אלו בסימן קל"ב. So it says, Rabbeinu the two wrote these things in chapter 132, וכן כתוב בתרומת הדשן, also it's written בתרומת הדשן, סימן ח', לקדושה שביוצר, this קדושה ביוצר, ובסדר קדושה, יש ליחיד לאומרו. He says, you should say it. בניגון, right, what we have to say with the ta'amim, with the melody. But ta'amim, the two and kfidah, so then there's no problem at all. אפילו למאן דאמר אין היחיד אומר אותם, even according to one who says that an individual should not say them, וכבר נזכר זה בתשובת הרשב"י, this was already mentioned, Rashbam says, שכתבתי בסמוך, that we already mentioned, וכן ראוי לנהוג, says that's a proper thing to do. ורוקח בסימן שס"ב, רוקח says, כתב, כמה ברייתות שמוזכר בהם קדיש וקדושה. He wrote several braitot that these things are mentioned, קדיש וקדושה, וברכו, ואמן, לומר אותם, מי שמתפלל ביחיד. So, right, what happens is that whoever prays as an individual says them in order to mention all these things, as if like he's just reading the Bible. ונוהגים באשכנז לחתום כאמור לעושה הורים גדולים. Okay, good. So we're done with this bit, Yosef. The rest we already did.
Kavod Harav, I'm sorry. You mentioned you did mention the 13 attributes of mercy, the 13. Yes. So I'm not sure if I understood, but what I've read in the Shulchan Aruch is that when somebody's reading praying alone, he can recite those attributes of mercy from the Torah. Is that what we concluded?
Right, but what we're saying is that you should read it with the ta'amim, with the melody.
With a melody. I thought it was with that.
Oh, you should learn it. Then you can read it, no problem.
That's what I'm asking, yes, because for some reason, sometimes when we, slichot and so on, there are places there that you're not supposed to recite on your own because you need a minyan. And
right.
And in other places there's, after the vidui, there's several places where you recite the 13 attributes of mercy.
Yes.
So you read it from.
So that there's the Ashkenazi ta'amim and there's the Sephardi ta'amim, So I do the Sephardi one. So I guess you want to do the Ashkenazi one, unless you're thinking about switching, maybe. I don't know, but whatever you're thinking about, whichever one it may be.
You're a great seller, Kavod.
Yeah, I'm just a regular guy. So right, as we said, right. So whatever it may be, whatever you gotta do it with your custom, whatever your custom is, right? That's the way it is.
That's what I'm trying to clarify. So what I read in the Shulchan Aruch is that you should read it from the actual Humash, from a text, but not with a melody, or maybe I misread. So that's
it's not really so important to read it from a text, but it's important to do with the ta'amim.
With the melody.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Otherwise, better not to say it at all.
Okay. So the melody is for Ashkenazim or Sephardim. I'm just trying to define here which, I read what it says.
It goes according to your custom, whatever your custom is.
Rudy, we're doing Sephardic, okay? Sephardic.
By association, I am, so it seems, Okay, so I guess I will have to, I've been reading it without the melody because that's what I think I read in the Shulchan Aruch, but I guess for Sephardic is with the melody.
Yeah, I think it's for everybody like that. Pretty much everybody's it's the same thing.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, check it again, what it says there. But anyway, right, that's the story there. So we have a whole discussion about this here. So let's see Shulchan Aruch and see what he says, bottom line. There's so many different opinions he brought here. So says Shulchan Aruch, some say that individual can say that, right? The kedusha of Yotzer. Because it's just a story there, right? Telling over the story. Some say you should skip it. if you're individual, right? It should only be said in public. So he says, so he says, therefore, right, it's proper to be concerned about the second opinion, right? And therefore, what? So therefore, you should try to say it with the tamim, right? As we said, like you're reading the Torah. So if you make it like you're reading the Torah, then you're allowed to read it. That's the bottom line, right? Same thing as the Yud Gimel Midot. Same thing. You 13 attributes, right? Same thing. Same idea. So then it says in the Ramah, look what it says, the Ramah, right? So it says, but the custom is like the first opinion, right? So meaning what? That you don't really need to do it with a melody. So he says, when we do this, when we answer this in the shul, we do it with a loud voice. Okay, so it seems like the Ashkenazim, right, are more lenient about this. So they do it even without the tamim, right? But when it comes to Yud Gimel Midot, it's a little bit different, right there. I think that over there it may be a little bit different. So maybe what we should do here is, first of all, let's check the Mishnah Berurah, what he says here. So he brings here the Gra that goes like the last opinion, right? So he doesn't agree with the Ramah, the Gra. So the Gra says you should do it with the Tamim. So you see, right, that there is a machloket here also amongst the Ashkenazim, there is a little bit of machloket here. But the truth is, the Ashkenazim, they go according to the Ramah, that's really the bottom line. So a person who wants to rely on the Ramah as an Ashkenazi, you can definitely rely on that. There's no question about that. That's one thing. Let's see what else he's got here to say, the Mishnah Berurah. Okay, so he also mentions that, right, the custom is to say this Kedusha sitting, which everybody does like that. Okay, good. So that's Mishnah Berurah. Now, let's see Yalkut Yosef for a second and we'll see what he says about this. So then we'll see what the custom of the Sfarim is like nowadays, whatever. Nowadays. Wow, interesting. So here in Yalkut Yosef, he says you should say it as an individual. Yeah.
You said Jacob, Joseph, right?
Yalkut Yosef, yeah.
And he's one that they don't list it on the Siddur.
If they don't list it, they got a problem.
Huh.
So who do they list there?
They have the Shulchan Aruch, Kav HaChaim, Ben Ish Hai, Halichot Olam, Hason Ovadia, Mishnah, Bruria.
So what they all say? They all have to say.
Yeah, but they don't list the one that you just said. No, just
Right, but what does it say there exactly?
well, they list them what they say in most of them. They do need the presence of a minyan or quorum of 10 males above the age of 13. So most of them agree.
What does that mean? Most of them. Which ones say which one?
So that one was Kav HaChaim.
Yeah.
He's the one saying that we need a quorum of 10 males above the age of 13. Yoredea, let me see.
And who else besides Kav HaChaim?
Yeah, the Brura, Mishnah Brura, that one too.
Okay, and then?
Let me see who else is doing. Well, one that is well, if they're 13, they do need parent, the parent supervision or.
So which are the ones? Which are the ones that say you can say?
Okay, let me see.
Over there.
They also have the Hason Ovadia. Hason Ovadia.
What does Chazon Ovadia say?
Okay, so they're listing several. They're listing the presence of 10, a quorum of 10 males above, and they list Ovadia, and they also list the Kav HaChaim, that it says that they need a quorum of 10 males above the age of 13.
Yeah, so here's the thing, right? That the Yalkut Yosef goes like those books you mentioned, which is the Halichot Olam and the Chazon Ovadia. So they should be all one opinion, basically, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so therefore, right, yeah, so that's what it says. What can I tell you? Anyway, it's interesting, but here's the thing, right, that just to make you understand a little bit, right, why do we have this sort of discrepancy here?
Mm-hmm.
Because in the Shulchan Aruch, what does it say there? It brings two opinions, and then it says it's proper to be stringent, like the second opinion, and say it with the Tamim. But the thing is that when it says it's proper to do that, it means it's not the halacha. It's just a stringency, So that's probably the way to explain it, in order to fit it all in. So in other words, to say it with Tamim is a stringency, basically. But the halacha is that you don't need to. So therefore, right, you don't really need to. That's what it says here. Okay, whatever. Anyway, it's interesting. But if a person wants to do it with the Tamim, right, no problem, right? But we're not talking here about the 13 attributes, right? We're talking about Kedusha v'Yotzer. Because 13 attributes is a different story altogether. Because over there, nobody really holds that it's just a story there, it's a different thing altogether. It's not a story. So you can't say the 13 attributes is a story. But here you can say that because it's just you're reading the Bible, basically, right? Whatever. So it's like a story in the Bible. But also that's written in the Bible, the 13 attributes. But over there, it's talking about, it's not a story, it's talking about the attributes of God. Anyway, it's interesting, right? Whatever. So, okay. So, right, bottom line is it seems like you don't really need it according to Halakha. But right, according to Zohar, you do need it, right? So, there's different opinions there. But Zohar is like Hasidut. It's not really halacha. You know what I mean? So therefore, right, it all fits in okay, more or less. And also, as we saw, right, that the Rambam, there's a machloket there, right? In the book, he says you cannot say. In the Tshuva, he says you can say. And not only that, but his son testified, right, that his father was saying it. So therefore, the Rambam was doing it. Actually, he was doing it. So there you go, right? Whatever. It is what it is. Okay. It's a big machloket. It's a big dispute. All right. Good. Baruch Hashem. Okay, at least we got to the bottom of it, more or less. There's always more to say about these things, but at least we got some clarity. All right, good. Baruch Hashem. Let's go back to our discussion. The truth is, honestly, I must tell you that we don't see custom-wise, like we don't see anybody who does this today, who says it with the Talmim, these things. Nobody really does that. So the custom is really, like the Ramah says, custom is like the first opinion. We don't see anybody who really does this, with the Talmim or whatever. Also, we don't see anybody who really skips it. Nobody wants to skip it because it's so holy. They want to read it. They don't want to skip it. What I mean? So, what can you do? It is what it is. Okay.
Kavod Harav, this is the same Kedusha we recite on Mincha and Shabbat, yes?
No, the Mincha is Uvarat Zion, right? That's a little bit different.
Okay,
we're going to talk about that later because it's like it's a later part of the prayers.
It sounds.
It comes after the Amidah, like in Shachrit, But Mincha Shabbat comes before the Amidah, but it's the same thing. It's Uvarat Zion,
Oh, okay, that's what it is. Okay.
Yeah. So in the morning we say it after the Amidah, but in Shabbat Mincha they say it before. But it's the same thing. Okay. So that's the story there. But so now all this stuff you read from the Art Scroll Siddur, right?
Yes, well,
it's not too bad. They brought a lot of stuff there. It's pretty good.
Yeah, Art Scroll and.
It's pretty good, but it's missing some of those that you're mentioning.
I'm sorry?
But they're missing some of the people that you did mention.
No, but you said that it has Halichot Olam, right? The Halichot Olam has?
For the Kaddish, I did not see him.
So what do they bring? What are the opinions they brought for that?
For the Kaddish?
For the Kedusha of Yotzer.
Bet Yosef, you don't have Bet Yosef here. Let me see. And yeah, they only have what I see here. I see listed Mishnah Berurah.
Yeah, Mishnah Berurah we already saw, right? We saw that, sure.
And okay, so Jaskil Abdi.
Jaskil Abdi, okay. What else?
Again, Abraham.
Abraham. But the problem is that Mishnah Berurah and Magen Abraham, these are Ashkenazi poskim, you know what I mean? So why are they bringing these poskim for the custom of the Sfardim? I don't understand. You know what I mean? That's a little bit strange.
Maybe it's because the format, it's because it's Art Scroll,
That's what I'm saying. Art Scroll has a certain tilt, possibly. You know what I mean? They have a certain tilt. They have,
Yeah.
It's possible. I really haven't looked at that Siddur.
It's very nice.
It looks nice. It's a beautiful Siddur, but I really haven't looked at it inside. I don't know. Okay. But it's beautiful. Nice blue color. Nice. Okay, whatever. It is what it is. God bless. Okay, so great. Fantastic. So Esther, don't throw it away. Keep that Siddur. So don't worry. We're not telling you to throw it away.
No. Thank you.
Keep it. It's okay. Okay.
Keep it.
But you gotta take it with a grain of salt a little bit. You know what I mean? Sometimes it may not be everything 100% of what we do, but okay, whatever. Anyway, it's good. Nice piece of work. Nice piece of art. All right, good. Beautiful. Okay, so let's go on. We're going to hey. Yeah. Okay, what's next on the menu here? Let's see. I think this is the last one. So it says like this, right? There's a tour here also. ואם תא שליח ציבור בברכת יוצר. Yeah. Yeah. So it says the tour like this. ואם טעה שליח ציבור בברכת יוצר, if the shliach tzibur, the chazan, right, made a mistake, b'kat yotzer, or b'inyan shetzarich acher la'amod tachtav. So, if he made like a mistake and he got mixed up, so now they have to put somebody else there, to relieve him, relief pitcher. He's got to put a relief pitcher there. Relief chazan. Right, so in those days, by the way, it was necessary sometimes because, they didn't have a sidur, so they were doing it by heart. So somebody could get just like mixed up, he doesn't know what he's doing. He loses concentration. But when you have a sidur, usually this doesn't happen, Anyway, right, he made a mistake. So they had to replace him. That's what it says. If he made a mistake after the kedusha, afterwards, so the second one needs to just start from there. He doesn't have to go back into the kedusha. It was already done by the first chazan. He says, even though regarding the other blessings that we make a mistake, the second one has to go to the beginning of the blessing. So you may think also here, let him go to the beginning. Right? Sheta'a Rishon. Shani Hacha, but he says here it's different. Why? Shakdusha Hashiva Kesof Bracha. Because the Kedusha is considered to be the end of the blessing. Oh. So it's like divided up into two. The Kedusha divides it up. So therefore, if the mistake was after the Kedusha, the second Chazan, the relief Chazan, right, doesn't have to go back to the beginning of the blessing, which is going to be a long wait for people, right? They're going to have to wait for him until he reads all that stuff because they already read it, so it would also be like a hassle a little bit. You're hassling the community like that. So we don't wait for it. We don't do that. So what we do is we start after the Kedusha, and the second Chazan continues from there. Okay, good. So that's what it says in the tour. That's the end of the tour. Now let's see Bet Yosef. So it says Bet Yosef, Im ta'ash liach tzibur b'chazah, Yerushalmi. Where is this coming from? From Yerushalmi, Perek En Momdin, over there. But right, it says, Batataya ishtitak beofanea atun v'shalin Rabbi Avun. They asked this rabbi, Amalon b'shem Rabbi Yosef ben Levi. So he answered them, right? זה שעובר תחתיו יתחיל במקום שפסק. If the first guy made a mistake, the second one just goes and continues from the place where the first one made a mistake. He continues from there. He doesn't have to go back to the beginning of the blessing, as we said. Amrle, they told him, but it says, we learned in the Mishnah, but we learned in the Mishnah that he begins from the blessing that he made a mistake, from the beginning of the blessing. Amar Lon, he answered them. He says, Kevan de Anitun Kadosh Kadosh, once you say Kadosh Kadosh, the Kedusha, Kemo Sheit Tchila Bracha, it's considered like you're starting a new blessing. Dame. B'katvu Sham Rabbeinu Yonah. So Rabbeinu Yonah writes this over there. Uve'arosh and the Rosh Zal. Dechen Katvu Gaot Maimonion. Also Gaot Maimonion says this. B'ilchot Tfilah and the laws of the prayers. Perk Yud, the 10th perk. B'Shem Samak, the name of the Samak. Ve'eni Yodea Lama Ishmitu Rambam. So it says, I don't know why the Rambam left out this halacha. He didn't bring it in the in his book. Matzati b'tshuva leRashba. So as I found the tshuva of the Rashba, shkatav hahi the ishtatak beofania, a person who made a mistake over there with the kedusha, lo mashkechinan basis. We don't even pay attention to that. Atya delo kigamrin. If he says it like, the way we have it, it says it's possible that this was the reason, the reason of the Rambam, the Talmuda, that if it was so, that the Talmud holds, Didan, our Talmud, Hachi, like this, so he's saying like this, right? We brought this from the Yerushalmi. So what does that mean? In our Talmud, in the Bavli, the one that we go by, it's not written there, this halacha. So therefore, it could be the Rambam holds, since it's not written in the Bavli, it's not really halacha. Otherwise, if it was, it would have been written in the Bavli, if they held by it. Since the rabbis over there didn't write this halacha, right? Maybe they didn't hold by it. That's the reason why the Rambam didn't bring it. Interesting. So what do we do practically speaking? Yerushalmi says, if you want to rely on Yerushalmi, since these rabbis wrote it, these Rishonim, so we don't object, right? So in other words, if you want to rely on Yerushalmi, so what does that mean? When the second Chazan goes up to relief the first Chazan, you can continue after the Kedusha, like the Yerushalmi says. You don't have to go back to the beginning of the blessing. Okay, that's the end of the Bet Yosef. So let's go to Shulchan Aruch, and we're done with this chapter. Okay. But the funny thing is about that art scroll, right? That went like the second opinion that we saw. The funny thing is that it's even against the Ashkenazim, because the Ramah says that the custom is like the first opinion, So they went against the Ramah, So what did they do basically, right? They went according to Mishnah Berurah, who writes according to the Gra, as we said, right? He brings it according to the Gra. So they favor the Mishnah Berurah in the name of the Gra over the Ramah, which is really not even proper for the Ashkenazim to do that. Because the Ashkenazim go like the Ramah, So there's a tilt over there. The rabbis who wrote this, they're a little bit tilted towards the Gra, towards the Mishnah Berurah. And not like the Ramah, not like the Ramah. They should be tilted a little bit more towards the Ramah. Okay, whatever. Even as Ashkenazim, I'm saying, they should be more tilted in that direction. That's the way it should be. But there are some, who the truth is that there are some communities, Ashkenazi communities, that they do like the Gra. They don't do like the Ramah. They're a minority. Most communities go like the Ramah, but some Ashkenazi communities, they call themselves the Talmidim of the Gra, so they go like the Gra. That's what it is, So that's what they're doing over here, But the truth is that even if you're going into the Gra, but why do that for the Sfardim? That's the question. That shouldn't be. Okay, whatever. It is what it is. It's okay, They're both very valid opinions, They're both very strong. So it's fine, whatever. It's great. It's fantastic. No problem. God bless them all. They're all holy. They're all holy, these people. All right, so we're going to do the last Shulchan Aruch here. And finish this chapter. So it says in the Shulchan Aruch, Im ta'a bebirkat yotzer or b'inyan shetzarich la'amod echad tachtav. If you made a mistake, right, in yotzer or, and somebody has to come and replace him, right? Relief pitcher, right? In the bullpen, the guy's in the bullpen, right? Warming up to come in, lehavdil, right? So he's coming in to be a relief for the first chazan who got into trouble. Right? So if you made a mistake from Kedusha and onwards, right? So second one can start from after the Kedusha, as we said, right? It doesn't have to go back to the beginning of the blessing. So says the Ramah here, that means he starts after Kedusha. But if he made a mistake before the Kedusha, so there, it's a different story. Then he has to begin berosh from the beginning of the blessing, right? That's the correct way. He has to begin it from the beginning. So, but here's the funny thing, right? That now let me give you a scenario, right? Let's say, for instance, one guy makes a mistake, okay, and they gotta bring in some new guy, right, to relieve him. So here's the thing, right? That this new guy who's coming to relieve him, he already started the blessing, as an individual. You know what I mean? So how is he gonna now say the blessing again? That would be a blessing in vain, So it's a little bit of an issue there, I wonder what how they answer this question. I personally would tell this guy not to start from the beginning altogether, because that would mean he would say the blessing twice. Because he already said it, he started already. So what he should do is start like after the beginning of the blessing, because otherwise there'll be a blessing in vain. He already said it. So that's what I would tell him to do if it was my choice. But let's see what the Mishnah Berurah says anyway. Interesting, right? Let's see how he explains this. If he has a better way of looking at it here. So it says the Mishnah Berurah, שאין חולקים ברכה אחת ושתיים, בזמן שהם נוהגים לצאת. He says something interesting, Mishnah Berurah. He says, this is what the Ramah says applies when they used to listen to the blessing of the Shliach Tzibur and fulfill their obligation from him, because they didn't know how to pray. But he said, since nowadays everybody does reads this for himself, so therefore he says, what should you do? As he said, right, like I told you, it's forbidden for him to do that, because he already said it already. What is he going to do? Say the blessing twice? You can't do that, right? So he agrees with me, the Mishnah Berurah. Baruch Hashem, okay. I'm in the camp of the Chafetz Chaim. It's pretty good camp. So anyway, right, he agrees with me here. You can't say it twice. So what should you do? If you're coming as a relief chazan, don't say it twice. Just start like after a little bit the beginning. This way you don't have to say the blessing twice. Otherwise, there will be a blessing in vain. So it's a good point he's making over here, right? So that will be the halacha for sure. In our times, right? That's pretty clear in my humble opinion. Okay, so pretty much we're done here, right? The time is up, but I want to tell you guys something interesting. I was just wondering today, actually I've been thinking about this for quite a while. We talked about the importance of praying b'netz, right? At sunrise, right? We talked about that, how important it is to do that, blah, blah, blah. So, but the question is, okay, but like which clock do you go according to, right? Which clock, which time do you use? Because, what I find is that there's a discrepancy of about 3 minutes between my computer and my phone. Did you ever notice this, by the way? You did, right? Did all of you notice this, or just as
on Zoom on Facebook? It's like there's a delay.
there's a delay? Okay. So, but do you notice the discrepancy between the phone and the computer? There's about 3 minutes difference.
There should not be.
It should not be, but there is in mine anyway.
Yeah, your phone probably keeps accurate time. You may need to check on the settings.
So here's the thing, right? I Googled this today. I Googled it. And I looked into it and I said to myself, let me find an answer for this. Why is there a 3 minute difference between the computer and the phone? So the Google didn't give me a really clear answer, but I started to get some information from there. What it said was that basically, right, that each service, right, whether it's Windows, on the computer, or your phone company, right, your phone service, they have like a central computer module, whatever, that they use, and it goes back to there. So it's getting the updates from there, So each company, right, or each provider has their own source for the proper time. And that's why there's a discrepancy. So here's the thing, right? So I was like, okay, well, what do I do now? Like, which is my nets? Which one do I use? So you know what I did? Very simple. In the old days, when I was a kid, when I had black hair, now I have all white hair, right? When I was raven colored, what did I do if I wanted to find out the nets? I didn't have a computer. I didn't have a phone. So what did I do? I called the Weather Bureau, right? I called the Navy, whatever, right? So what did I do? I called today. There's a phone number, that gives you the exact time, right? According to the Navy. So guess what I found? The computer is right and the phone is wrong. It's exactly like the computer. So therefore, right, if you're doing nets, you know what it is? Each phone provider is probably different. So you have to check your phone provider if there's also discrepancy by you as well. I don't know. There may not be. But by me, I always have 3 minutes.
That may be the answer, though, because you've got a phone provider that is pulling off of somebody else's cell towers. So that may be why.
Yeah, I mean, my phone provider uses T-Mobile, right? That's what they're using.
Right.
It's a subsidiary. It's a subsidiary of T-Mobile.
Your phone is not T-Mobile, so they're bouncing off of T-Mobile's
right
towers. There is a website that gives you atomic time. It's called time.is.
Right.
I'll put it in the chat, but that'll also give you the accurate time.
Okay, but it's always been like this, since I've had any phone. Like there was always a discrepancy like this. I don't know, whatever. Anyway, the point is like this, right? The computer is the right one. So that's what I found, and therefore the phone is about my phone at least, right? I don't know about your phone. It's like 3 minutes too fast.
There's no discrepancy.
Go figure, right? Go figure and see what how it is with you. I don't know.
My phone and my computer are identical.
Mine
wow. That means that you got a different service, you got a different carrier. This is a different thing.
Yeah, I'm on Verizon. They've got their own towers.
Beautiful. Okay, Verizon is very good. So what about you guys? Do you have a discrepancy or it's the same?
No, mine is the same time. I have T-Mobile, and I have Chrome.
Okay.
A Chrome. What's it called? The Chromebook. Whatever.
Oh, Chromebook. Yes.
Yeah. So, but they are at the same time.
Okay, great. So it's just my carrier, I guess. My carrier is messed up.
But it's good to know, to keep an eye.
Yeah, the computer seems to be more the Windows. Some provider seems to be 100%.
Okay, I guess I will have to find out where Chromebook gets their.
If you see that they're both the same, that means that that's pretty good.
Okay.
It's not about where Chromebook gets it. It's what your internet provider is. And so most people's internet provider are either cable or their Verizon.
Right. Just in case, you can call that phone number in your area and they give you the exact time. So, every like 15 seconds, It updates.
You could do that, or you could go to, there's a website for it.
Okay, fantastic. So I want to let you know because it does have a difference in halakha, you know. Also, you know what time Shabbat comes in. You know, there's a lot of issues that it affects. You know what I mean? Candle lighting, all kinds of stuff, you know.
What I've noticed is that in the candle lighting from one of the calendars, not from Maizanim or whatever that is, there's like a 1 or 2 minute different, you know.
That's no big deal. That's no big deal. But what do you call it? You live in where? Hollywood? You live?
North Miami Beach.
Okay, North Miami Beach. So what you do is, you know, you download the app, and it'll give you the time for that particular area, you know, and then you can.
Yeah, I print out.
You know exactly when candlelighting is.
Yes, all the times I print it out from all.
Okay, beautiful, great.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you for being with us. Chag Sameach, right? Lag, or they say Lag Sameach, Lag Ba'omer Sameach. Right, it's a holiday tonight, very holy day. So make sure you learn a lot of Torah and learn about Rabbi Shimon, right? Who he was and what he did for us, all the good things that he did, all the great things that he did for us, for the Jewish people. They say, by the way, that just to give you something interesting, right? That it says in the Zohar Kadosh that the generation of Rabbi Shimon was so special that even the little children knew Kabbalah. You know, they could say things in Kabbalah. They were on such a high level. Little kids, 5-year-old kids, they were able to say. So they all, in his generation, they all had permission to study Kabbalah. Even the little kids had permission. But it says the Zohar Kadosh, once Rabbi Shimon passed away, we don't have that permission anymore. Now only the people who are great, scholars can learn Kabbalah. Not the regular people, not little children. So it says, right, that there won't be another generation like Rabbi Shimon on that level. That they were such a high level like that until Mashiach comes. That's what it says. So when Mashiach comes, we'll get back to that level. B'ezras Hashem. Right now, we're not exactly there. We're not. Okay. God bless you. Chazak Baruch. Be blessed with wealth, health, happiness. Laila Tov.
Amen. Thank you.